So I'm going to just quickly do a brief on these tools. This class was last week's class. I think we didn't have so many numbers of people, and the network was really, really, really bad. I did a recording, but some way somehow the recording was not. It was nowhere to be found. So I had to just quickly sort another one. So this is still Jira. So these are the report section on Jira. So I'm just going to like pick one of them. These are the key things that I recorded last week. There was no one in class, but I had to just quickly record it. But because it got lost, I had to start all over. But I won't let the class extend too long so that it will be something very, very detailed. So we have these six key report areas. We have the burn up reports, we have the sprint burn down chart, we have the velocity report, we have cumulative flow diagrams, we have the cycle time report, deployment frequency report. So I'm going to talk about what it is, how Jira shows it. So that is I'm going to have to click on it. Then why a business analyst needs them. So one after the other. So let's get started. So I'm just going to open it in a new tab. So I'm starting with Burnup Report. I have so many tabs on this browser. I need to close it. So I'm starting with Burnup Reports. So this is the interface for the Burnup Report. So a Burnup Report chart, what it does basically is to just track work that has been completed versus the total scope of time. So if you look at this description here, it says visualize a sprint completed work and compare it with its total scope. So use this insight to track progress towards sprint completion. So the goal here is to be able to identify the task that has been completed and then the time to complete such task. That's basically so. If you look at the date section here, we have from the very day we started the sprint and the day the sprint is to end, and look at our sprint goal. So if you look at the completed work, the guideline, and then the work scope, so you can see that we don't have a really full detailed chart yet. But if the second task is completed, or maybe down to the third task, we would be able to get a concrete results here. But the chart is only handling two different results majorly. So the first result is the completed work. So it shows a trend upward as tasks or stories that have been completed. And then the other part of it is the total scope, which is the tasks that can move up if the scope creep happens. So majorly how Jira would show this is Jira would let us pick a board project, then we generate a kind of a burn up chart that updates automatically with story points or issue counts. But basically, all the things that has literally been done for us. That is why we're only seeing this here. So if you look at the top here where we have the sprints, we only have one sprint. Look at this, we have the story points, then we have work item counts. So you can see so the previous work that transition to done issue count. So this one was the recent task that was recently completed. If you look at time, then so you can see so the chart is still not detailed enough. Why? Because we haven't really gone far in what we've done. But if you look at this part here, we have Monday, the day the sprint started, and we have Thursday, yesterday, the day a work item is completed. So every data concerning the project, activities, everything can be easily monitored here. So one of the things that make Jira very, very interesting is the fact that you can keep track of everybody that is working. So it's a kind of a thing that you cannot just, if we ask you how far, what have you done, how far have you gone with the task given to you, the only thing you would say is, okay, you'd only give, you only give references. This is what you've done, this is what you've been able to achieve, but we need to see it. So which means if you are using a tool like this, you need to be able to store up, and to be able to store up your info. If it is a screenshot that you need to drop the screenshot. If it's activities that you need to put up, so activities need to just keep going on Jira. That is the best way we can keep track of what you are doing. So now, why does a BA need to be familiar with the burn-up report? So number one is it's one of the best way to spot a scope creep. So if the total scope line keeps climbing up, that is if it keeps going up, but completed work doesn't really catch up, you know that the requirements are having issues. So this simply means that the scope of the work which has been planned. So the scope creep basically is the key area of the timeline, our actual timeline, 29th of September to 6th of October. So, and our scope will keep going up because the days keep counting, but then the timeline, only few, look at this one now, only one tax has been done so far. I was only even moved the other tax to in progress, and there hasn't been anything done yet, but we're still waiting on Saturday to see how far that would go. So the first thing there is the best way to spot and identify activities that is going on. Then another thing is it helps the business analysts push back on stakeholders who keep sneaking in just one more feature. So once the sprint has commenced, we cannot try to update the sprint. We need to complete what has been done there before we can. So we want to add anything. It doesn't mean that you can't add. You can actually go back to the backlog and add. But the moment you attempt to add, even Jira will tell you that it is not advisable to add a new issue into an existing sprint. So, and if a new sprint has been added, it will be recorded in the burn up chart here that a new sprint has been added, which is wrong because it would automatically affect the planning. Then the third really needs to be familiar with this is this chart result is useful for forecasting. So forecasting in the sense that at this level, currently we have until 6th of October and today is 3rd of October. So which means we have 3 days left. And so far, only one task has been completed. So with this report, let's say our timeline is like 4 weeks, or let's say like four weeks. So, and so far so good, we keep going with this burn-up report. You'll be able to identify or determine how long this thing is going to eventually take. So which means it might actually go beyond 6th of October. So it's a very, very good chart report to help keep track of how far the job had gone. So moving on to the next one, which is the sprint burnout. Hope this thing is recorded. It's gonna be nice if I have to say all these things all over again. Okay, thank God it's recorded. Okay, it's recording. I can see the guy here. Okay, so the next one is the sprint burn down chart. As you can see, this one too does not have so many chart results. The first one there is the burn up, and then this one is the sprint burn down chart. So it is used to track and manage the total work remaining within a sprint. After the sprint, summarize both team and individual performance. So majorly, the burn down chart is just to track remaining work. What do we have left? It's not really concerned about what has been done. It's majorly what do we have left. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see incomplete work. And it can indicate this one is in progress, the rest are still on to do. Only one has been marked as done. So regardless of how many tasks that we have, it can easily be added. You'll be able to like keep track of literally everything. So a sprint burn down chart is used to track remaining work in a sprint. So the story points or tasks day by day. So it keeps monitoring everything every day. So it starts high at sprint planning, then it drops ideally to zero at sprint end, at the end of the sprint. So it just keep records of everything that we have left. So the way the chart result works is this sprint burndown chart shows daily work left versus the time left. And it also have its own estimated, you can see it also have its own estimated field that can easily be changed. You can see the previous one we had then was a burn up, it was going up, but this one is coming down. So there is nothing much about this burn down, just to keep record of what we have left. So why should BA be concerned about this guy? So a BA can see sprint is realistic or going off the rails. That is, in the sense that if it is going fine, if we're able to like keep track of everything, we're able to keep everybody in check, and activities is still going fine, or with the look of things, it's not looking like this job is going to be done on time. So the Scrum Master will be able to look for an alternative to making everything fast. Then another way is if halfway through the sprint, for example, nothing has been moving. So you can easily intervene. Then maybe there is a requirement wasn't clear enough. Maybe the like currently what is going on now is communication. So that is majorly what we are experiencing. So as a BA, you can easily intervene. Is it that like is it that we don't understand what we are supposed to do, or we don't know how to use that? So and with the look of things, now is the perfect time to like start reaching out, because by 8 p.m. tonight, the second task would mark 24 hours, and then it's supposed to be a kind of interaction that is not even going on to indicate that yes, something has really, really been going on this particular project. Now, the third thing is it also signals when stories aren't broken down well. So something BAs often can be able to fix, or a product owner can easily fix. So sometimes the story might not be broken down well. Maybe the issue is related to that, but which I don't think our own case here, our issue here is communication. So it's difficult for people to. So I guess would have to use Jira more often for our projects so that we'll be able to like keep track of everyone and everyone can get familiar with it. So the third one is the velocity report. So velocity cannot work until a sprint has been completed. So what it does is it predicts the amount of work our team can commit to in future sprints by seeing and reviewing the amount of value delivered in previous one. So the way this one will work is it basically just shows how many story points or issues the team actually delivered per sprint. So it will give us a kind of an historical view of the last activities. But this one has no data. Had it been, let's say for example, we've completed a previous sprint before on this project, it would show up. And by the time this one to complete it, add it to it. Then we use it to monitor how best our team are working. If at this pace we need to improve, if at this pace we'll be able to achieve what we want to achieve, because currently our achievement now is to be able to work on 12 different case studies to better understand business analysis instead of having to start doing theories and documenting this, documenting that. So we decide to go through the route of working on real life projects. So, and this is our third project, and third project is third project represents third week. Well, if you look at your Google Drive, you'd see that we've already even gone past third week. In fact, we've gone past a month already. We are like entering we're about to enter the third month, and the classes, I don't even know the duration of the class. I did not even ask. So either 3 months or 4 months or thereabouts. So I didn't ask. I might have to ask. So the essence of that velocity report is to help us keep track of how far can we go to be able to speed up what we have on ground. So the way it would show up is to show bars, like as you can see on the image here, to show bars for committed versus completed story points across all the sprints. So why do we need this? We want to be able to use the bar chart to have a kind of a reality check. Yeah, this thing, are we going to be able to really finish up on time? So if the team keeps committing 50 points but only delivers 30, for example, maybe the requirements were to get vague, or maybe because everybody has so many things that they're doing outside the class. That is why everything is. Of course, by the time we complete the sprint, you'd see the outcome of the velocity report and see that we are really, really lagging behind. Then another thing for BA is it helps set expectations with stakeholders. So based on the historical velocity, we can't really promise that yeah this thing can be ready at so time. Why? Because of how the flow is going. So moving on, we have the cumulative flow diagram. So this one shows the status of the project's work items over time. So what this does basically is is a kind of a stack area chart that shows how work items flow through status. That is from the if you check our board here. So it will give us a kind of a kind of an area chart that would show how the task has been moving from the to do, in progress, done, or whichever method that we have. So this is the kind of system that it's going to show us or in form of an area chart. So you can see we have to do, we have in progress. So this purple color represents to do. You can see how purple is all over our chart. And this light sky blue thingy is for in progress. So you can see our in progress very low. And then we have the green for done. Green is somewhere mixed with the light blue. Very small. So you can see that we still have a long, still have a long way to go. And you can easily filter it. Let's say we have several other chat activities, but I can still go back to maybe like Wednesday and see. So we can always like backdate it to have a full. So this one, let's say we have a very large number of teams that we're working with right now, and with that, we still have a very long month days of project to cover. You know, that way you have so many tasks to be able to keep track of. You won't be able to run through everybody at once. This is a perfect way to come and see how far my people gone. And you can see that it comes with the calendar. I can easily keep track of it. How far have my people gone? And you see, oh, purple, wow, we've not done anything. So that is basically what the cumulative flow diagram does. So why should it be concerned about this? Number one is BAs, we love to spot bottlenecks. So we love to spot issues, spot problems that is going on around the product or even the commencement or anything. And this kind of a thing is a kind of a bottleneck sniper rifle. So this is what will help us identify bottlenecks quickly to see what is going on out there. Why is it that we have so many to dos here? Why is it that I'm supposed to be seeing greens or even the blue color? Why am I seeing purple all over? You know, you can be able to use this to find to identify all this. Now, another reason why ABA needs this is if in review, for example, let me come back to this part. For example, in review now, look at this our chart here. We have to do in progress and done. Sometimes we might have in review. We create a new column and have in review. Sometimes we might have backlog. So and the reason for that is when we have so many projects being handled, the best way is we want to ensure that we're able to review the task that has been done before we can mark it as a completed task. So I can have a kind of a review section here. Then of course it will have to come immediately after the progress. So it will stay here. So before we can mark a project as done, so when a project has been completed, it moves from progress to a review, then it stays in review until it has been approved, like reviewed and approved, then it can be marked as done. So now, in cases like this, in situation like that, sometimes we usually have projects in sprint that stays on review for a very long time. So when we have a kind of a chart like that shows up in that manner, I just added the review section. Let me see if we can populate it. But we can't have anything there yet because we don't really have much. We don't really have anything in our review section. So sometimes the team moves as they should, and when they finish a job or a task or an issue or a story, they know that they can't mark the job themselves as complete until it has been reviewed. So the essence of that is so that there won't be a back and forth. Now imagine marking a project as done, and after marking it as done, then they are now like, you might still need to work on it. The fact that you are still working on a project that already been marked as done, you need to move it back to in progress again. And going back and forth will not make there won't be any progress at all. So the essence of that review is to eradicate going back and forth. So if by adventure we now have so many projects that falls under review, then we'll be able to know that people are working, but we've not been able to review so that we can move on, and we might get stuck. So which to be able to address that review section. And sometimes it could be that it has been reviewed, but the suggestions that has been created here has not been sorted. So let's say we've reviewed it and then there were some adjustment that need to be done in those area. Sometimes review usually take time than even the task itself. So because you realize after reviewing, you submit again, then there's another review, you submit again, then there's another review, then it will get stuck. Then we now have so many reviews at that angle. So cases like that, we could use the cumulative flow diagram to identify it. And then the final reason why a BA needs this is a BA can use it to argue for process tweaks like better, clear handoffs, trying to create more clarity that this with the way things are going, let's maybe we would have to add a new function into the system in a sense that as soon as a task has been completed, that is, it moves from in progress to review. Whoever completes the task, whoever moved that task from in progress to review should reassign the task to another person. More like there's an approval section on Jira. So you can easily assign the task to another person to review so that we can proceed to the next stage. Okay, so moving on, we have the cycle time report. So this one help us understand how much I'm trying to close this guy. Help us understand how much time it takes to ship work items through the deployment pipeline and how to deal with outliers. So let's open that up. So it helps us identify the average time it takes for an issue to go from in progress to either in review or from in review to done. And some advanced Jira setup would show lead time from creation to done. So this one, you can see that our chart is still not detailed, doesn't really have so many Our project has no epic. Our project has epic, bro. Our project has epic. So let's use story. We have story and we have subtask. But our project has epic. So why is it not coming up? I'll look at this. I'll look at this. Our project has epic. I don't know why. Okay, man. Let's go to board. I just want to be sure. These are epics here. We have one epic. Well, anyways, I'll just explain. So it majorly what it does is majorly to I can see it at the top here. Understand your project cycle time to see how quickly you ship value. So your cycle time is the time it takes a work item to go from the first commit to the last production. This is the development feature. So it just helps us monitor and track the average time it takes for an issue, that is for a task or a story, to go from in progress to either review or to done. So the chart is going to show a kind of a scatter plot or a line chart, right where we have this median, no work median thing here. So to show a scatter plot or a line chart with average or median cycle time. So why does BA need it? So if a cycle time is long, so it could be that the stories are too large or requirements are not ready when the developers pick them up. So you'll be able to identify all these things, and then it also help the BA identify shorter and consistent cycle times and healthy workflow. So you'll be able to see every sprint that has been created, every task that has been moved, the way it's moving, be able to monitor everything. And another thing BA identify is it helps the BA refine the backlog item better and push for just enough detail to keep the flow smooth. So I'm believing that this chart is majorly for the development. So I believe maybe that was the reason why it didn't come up. But we're not really doing anything development related. So the final one is deployment frequency report. This is also a development report. So what this does is it shows us how often the team actually deploys a working software to production. So either from the staging, depending on the setup. So this one too will not have any data because it's a development. This thing. So you can see that it would come out empty like the other one. So if we read what it says here, so it helps understand your deployment frequency to understand risk and how often you are shipping value to your customer. So it majorly just monitors how quick and how fast we're able to push features into the products. And the way Jira will show it, it will show a kind of a deployment count over time. And sometimes it might require Jira to integrate a CI/CD pipeline, either a Bitbucket, Jenkins, or GitHub, before this data can come up. So from here, we could integrate them, be able to keep track of all those data. So why does a BA why does a BA need this? So high deployment frequency. So it helps us to quickly monitor the frequency. So if features are not reaching the users or on time, or it could be that the analysis or the requirement are just sitting there on Jira, nothing is being done. We'll be able to keep track of all these things. So a BA can also use this to validate if the project is moving fast or not, or if the stakeholders are seeing value on time or not. We'll be able to look at it here. So let's say we want to integrate a Google Map onto our mobile app, for example, a project, for example, and ordinarily it's supposed to take 3 weeks, and it was already 2 months, and it's not even looking like it's moving forward. We'll be able to monitor it and okay, what is delaying? So if this thing cannot work yet, should we just or move on to the next thing? So now the point is, why should a BA cares about Jira in general and all these levels of charts? We still have so many things on Jira that we've not even touched yet. So as we progress on it, we'll be talking about it. But why should the BA should why should the BA care about all these things? Now, a lot of BA thinks that the Scrum Master or the product manager only they are the only ones that should be concerned about this, which ordinarily it's the truth because they are the ones that sits together with the team, handling literally the project and everything. But in reality, reports are all about requirement quality and flow. We are the one who provided the requirements, so we should be able to use all those reports to keep track of everything that is going on, like the burn up and the velocity, that their requirements their requirements to determine if our documentation that we prepared initially they are realistic and they are stable. The burn down, their own requirement is clear enough for developers to finish in time to be able to. So we want to know, is it clear enough or not? We have the cycle time as well to help us identify bottlenecks that is delaying the success of the project. And then we have the deployment frequency, which is the last one. So if the work is actually being delivered on time, and is it not just delivering on time, is it also delivering the values that should be delivered? So a BA use this kind of reports for clarity, and we use it to push back on fixing issues that arises, and then it also helps us improve on the requirements. So these reports are not just random charts, they are tools to help us see how our requirements that we created before the commencement of the project, to see how our requirements are playing out in real sense. So we will be a BA will be able to keep track of all these things. So a BA that ignores all these things, my experience difficulties, and when there are delays on the project, you might not be able to push through. You'll be blaming the product manager, blaming everybody, because of course there'll be a product manager. You won't be the one to manage the product. So these are the six key reports on Jira, but there is still more to Jira, a whole lot more. So as you are moving on different projects where Jira is needed, so maybe for every of our projects, we'll try to include Jira into it so that we can be able to keep track of all these reports. So yeah, so these were the things that I recorded last week Thursday that I eventually lost. Maybe when I saved it, got lost, or I don't even know. I just did not see it. So hopefully this thing was recorded and I won't have to say it over again. But hopefully. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So I